I spent the last few years of my grandfather's life photographing him on his farm in Indiana, trying to create a record of him as a man, and also to kind of explore this idea of aging and having to let go of the passions that kind of keep us, that drive us, and that keep us alive, keep us young, and his was for breeding and training and racing horses. So I spent a lot of time working on that from about 2010 to 2016. He passed away last spring. After he'd passed away and after we'd had the funeral and everything, I ended up making 2 trips back to Indiana, one in the summer and one in the fall, both to help my family clear out his farm, which was to be sold, and then also for me to archive and to gather as much kind of ephemera photographically and a little bit object-wise too, but really to make sure I had all the family photographs. I brought in, lights. I brought in a seamless, and I made a kind of improvised copy stand, and I, got the photographs. I found as many as I could, and sorted them as best I could, and photographed them. And I think I documented over 800 objects, either photographs or ephemera that was in the house. And it was an interesting thing. One of the reasons I really wanted to do it was that, I didn't start photographing my grandfather until he was very, at a very advanced age in the last few years of his life. And I always been kind of weirdly I've always been a little sad that I was never around to document, to photograph him kind of in his prime, when he was at the top of his game, when he was, breeding and training, winning horses every year, when he was, working at his kind of full capacity. But as I started going through the photographs, and the photographs were family photos like everyone else would have, there were a lot of photos from around the farm of, there was lots of pictures of every spring of the new foals that were born on the farm. And there were a lot of racing photos, a lot of win photos, a lot of photo finish pictures. When I'm making photographs, when I'm trying to photograph in my capacity as a documentary photographer, the photos are contrived in a way. I'm trying to make something beautiful, I'm trying to make something engaging, I'm trying to use the tools that I have as a photographer to make the strongest image I can. But in these kind of family snapshots, which all of our families have, and all of our, at our time and place in the world, most of our families have made these kind of snapshots. There's a kind of openness and a kind of honesty of purpose in those pictures. They're just to record our families as the years go by, and they're not made in a way to try to make a great photograph. They're not trying to tell a story necessarily, but they tell a story almost in spite of themselves. And so I had it built up a kind of admiration for me in this archive, and this, not even an archive, in this kind of library almost of family pictures, and I really got a lot out of looking through them. And so I've decided, in the process of going through these pictures and documenting them and copying them, making digital copies of them, I realized that I want to go a new direction with that project, and that's to incorporate a lot of those images into my wider project. I shoot black and white documentary photographs, a lot of which I make on analog technology. So I thought that, those pictures are, like I said before, are documentary pictures in a classical sense. I'm working in using the conventions of documentary photography. I'm working in a lot of ways using the, standing on the shoulders of photographers that I've admired and worked before me, and that's kind of what that's about. But I saw that there was something lacking in the project about this end of his life, where I can tell a broader story about him through using those vernacular photographs. So it was a great experience for me to go through them, to archive them, and for nothing else, make a copy of those that will kind of live on into our digital future, as opposed to just at some point getting thrown out in a box.